Larry Stylinson. Who is he? Not a person, actually, but a ship name for two members of the boy band One Direction, Louis Tomlinson and Harry Styles. The whole thing started out, if I'm not mistaken, by teenagers doing what teenagers do, hoping that their two favorite cute guys will be gay together. We've all seen it happen, your Cass and Deans, your Dan and Phils, but did you know that Louis Tomlinson and Harry Styles have actually been in a secret relationship for years, stifled by their homophobic management team? Did you know that none of their relationships with women are real? Harry never dated Taylor Swift, or Kendall Jenner, or Olivia Wilde, and Louis actually never fathered a child, which just makes the kid that he posts in his Instagram all the time a paid child actor. Did you know the only way they can publicly show their affection is through thematically similar, although not matching, tattoos? Did you know that since they aren't able to communicate openly about it, they are forced to communicate with their fans about their relationship through symbols, most notably through color-coded stickers on the feet of teddy bears? One sec. Do I look like disheveled enough? I was gonna wear a tinfoil hat, but that felt mean. Do I look like someone who spent all day taping yarn to my wall? Because this is exactly what I was wearing. And sometimes I wonder if my parents would have preferred a boy. What do you think? Okay, so I was always a little out of the loop about all of this because I was more of a night Tumblr person than a day Tumblr person. But don't think for one second that I'm gonna shit on them. Maybe I would have said that in the past, but I also would have said that Justin Bieber was gross, and they would have both been bald-faced lies. Truthfully, though, I love all boy band music because it's catchy and fun and doesn't make me think too much. Like, yes, I know that Phoebe Bridgers writes better songs, but if I listen to them too much, I turn into depressed Barbie. And I was recently watching Dan Olson, one of my favorite video essayists, piece on the Apes, which is a community of people online who are convinced that they are going to make millions and millions of dollars and even topple the global economy because they are buying shares in GameStop. And if you're not familiar with that whole saga and how it came to be, I will link it in the description. I think it's a fascinating video. But right now, all you need to know is that a few people did actually get very rich on GameStop, and some very rich people did lose a lot of money. This happened in 2021, and the apes that Olson and I are the most concerned with are the ones whose version of reality has diverged substantially from ours in the following years. And of course, Larrys aren't exactly convincing other people to sink their children's college funds into a failing company. But I got to thinking that there might be something about the similarly conspiratorial nature of these two primarily online communities that might help me answer the question, why is Larry? So let's talk about Finance Bros for a little bit. Olson gives an absolutely exhaustive history of the ape community, but I'm gonna try to keep what I have to say about it as short and relevant as I possibly can. So Olson talks a lot about the inception of the ape movement. Basically, powerful hedge fund managers placed a bet that GameStop would lose money. But through a collective of people buying the stock, individual investors were able to jack the price up through collective buying and actually make the hedge fund people hurt. And this was all well and good, but Olson hypothesizes that the conspiratorial thinking really takes off when a popular online broker makes it impossible to buy shares in GameStop.
That was when they were on the cusp of, like, total revolution. The entire system was about to collapse, and apes were about to be crowned victors over Wall Street. Robinhood turning off the buy button was, from their point of view, an obvious sign of targeted disruption.
That likely happened because the broker was trying to protect itself from financial ruin. It was essentially worried that it was fronting a lot of money for investors who could not pay it back. It was also only one of several dozen available stock buying options, so it was never like you had to stop buying GameStop. But in spite of all that, the apes began to believe that it all happened because they were just on the cusp of collapsing the entire stock market. And although that was false, that well-founded skepticism, coupled with a desire to get one over on Wall Street, actually worked for once. But when that first thing happened, the buy button turns off, our heroes, the Redditors, were just about to topple the entire financial system run by the villainous, greedy Wall Street people before they were cruelly stopped.
So what they see in the Robinhood fiasco is targeted disruption. Someone pulled strings to turn off the buy button and stop the squeeze, which means someone's scared. The whole thing must still be primed to pop off again.
And if they weren't stopped, the price of GameStop would have kept going up forever. And finally, once they uncover this vast conspiracy, they will all be unimaginably wealthy. That's just the truth. It has to be true, because after January 2021, when GameStop was valued at over $400 a share, there are a lot of people who are now looking at almost 90% losses. It is vitally important for everyone in that community that a bigger spike in GameStop prices is coming. One so extreme that the federal government is gonna have to start printing money to pay them for their shares. So there are a lot of sub-theories that I feel like make narrative sense, like more and more fake shares are being created in GameStop, driving the price down, instead of, the price going down as everyone else in the world expected it, but they don't really have a basis in reality. When reality didn't match up to their theory, it was reality that was adjusted to make their theory make sense. Because reality cannot say that any of these people essentially gambled away their life savings. So this whole movement was started by a guy called Keith Gill. He was the one that came up with the theory that maybe if enough people bought GameStop, that they could essentially call the hedge funds bluff that GameStop was gonna lose money. And if that doesn't make sense, it really doesn't need to. And I don't really know much about him, but judging by some of his pre-fame streams, he seems like a really reasonable guy.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Cheers! Happy Friday, happy holidays. I hope everyone's having a great week. When you have a thesis and by and large it unfolds as you hope that it could, that's nice. So it shouldn't be taken for granted. It doesn't always happen, so that's great.
But then he made about $68 million in GameStop, and he was called to Congress to testify because people thought he might have been running a pump and dump scheme, which is where essentially you tell everyone to buy the stock so it gets really valuable and then you sell it, making you a lot of money and everyone else screwed. And he said, I just like the stock. I'm not a special guy. I don't know anything that no one else does. But his followers watched his deposition, assuming that publicly he might have been playing along, but really he was speaking to Redditors in coded messaging. Yeah, and even though under all this scrutiny he's actually stopped posting entirely, they are convinced he is still guiding them from the shadows.
Realizing that he was being elected to the role of cult leader, that anything he said, any company he commented on, would be baked and decoded as directions for the apes to take action on, and that such a position posed a substantial threat to both his newfound wealth and his personal safety, he unplugged his social media entirely and disappeared from the public eye.
So now, GameStop is just continuing to lose money and lose money. Now all these people who are so invested in this theory have so much less to go on. Now that the reason they're all there has essentially vanished from the internet, the symbolism got so obscure. These theories, I won't go too into them, but they got to the point where these people online were analyzing children's books written by a prominent financial investor to find numbers in them that might connect to the day they are finally gonna get rich. One thing I thought was hilarious was that when someone tangentially related to this whole saga dropped his phone and accidentally tweeted the letter M, people instantly started speculating about what it might mean. He put out another tweet jokingly denying that it actually meant anything, but then the same people analyzed that tweet trying to connect the amount of spaces he used before the letter Y, in the tweet that denied any sort of double meaning. So as they get less and less hints from reality, their decoding had to become more and more ambitious. They are suckered in by a real, if not shallow, basis in truth, and caught up in the overconfidence of conspiracy circles, fictional philanthropy, and an invisible war against evil entities, until they are too committed to quit and their theories just keep getting more and more outlandish. And then it's stupid for the rest of us not to believe them because it's the most obvious thing in the entire world. And of course, none of that has anything to do with Harry and Louis' relationship, because it is real and they are reenacting the bathtub scene from Saltburn as we speak. So for my Larry research, I'm gonna be taking a lot of info from Ashley Norton's video about the Larrys and Babygate, which is the online conspiracy that Louis Tomlinson's child isn't real. And I should say that while there are people who believe that and that they haven't been in any other relationships, there are also people who think that maybe they were in a relationship before, but they broke up, stuff like that. So there's a whole spectrum. And for my research, I figured I should at least have a look at all the proof that people have compiled online. There are so many master posts that go into painstaking detail about every time they've interacted in public. And to be honest with you, I did not read a lot of them. I skimmed quite a bit. But in the interest of due diligence, to give myself the true Larry experience, if you will, I found and watched an entire Martin Scorsese film-length video with all the proof I should need to show that they were unequivocally and 1,000% gay for each other. The video is so long that I had to watch it over 3 days. I had dreams about Harry Styles. We weren't even friends or anything. I was literally his assistant, because even in my dreams, I'm nothing if not a realist. So, are they gay? Are they? I should know, shouldn't I? Honestly, I don't think they are. But here's what I learned. So we start our story in 2010 when all the One Direction boys independently auditioned for the British version of the X Factor. Simon Cowell didn't take them on individually, but he thought they might have promise as a group, so we put them all together and made them sing. And they were living in a house together while this competition was happening. They filmed weekly video diaries, and pretty early on it was clear that Harry and Louis were especially close. And also, Ashley notes, and I should also note, that when the band was starting out, streaming and celebrities being readily available in real time on social media was kind of a novel concept, and they were really putting a lot of content out there, and the girls were loving it. And honestly, I totally get it. Simon Cowell struck gold. Here were 5 young guys who were all incredibly charismatic and seemed so comfortable in front of the camera. They have such a natural chemistry as a group. And in the beginning, they were such good sports with interviewers and happy to laugh about, who they wanted to snog at what award show or how many girls they've made out with. Like for girls my age, this was the stuff that dreams were made of. So I mentioned that Harry and Louis really seemed to hit it off. It's obvious they were fast friends. They were tweeting about each other all the time. They were goofy and affectionate with each other in front of the cameras. They talked a lot about how close they were and how happy they were to know each other.
We are friends, but I'd say when we need each other, we're more like brothers because we're so close. We literally see each other every day, and we spend every minute of each day together. So yeah, I'd say it was brotherly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And you always wanted to be a singer?
There was a famous, in the Larry community, interview where Harry says his first crush was Louis, and Louis tweets that Harry will always be in his heart. And listen, I get it. If I was in this fandom at the time, I would have been all over this shit. But seeing this as an adult with a more refined palette, I read most of that stuff as just goofing around, especially because they were made aware early on that fans were really invested in their relationship, and they just seemed like great friends. Like, not in the way that your aunt and her roommate are friends, like really. And honestly, seeing all this footage from the early years was so heartwarming. I can only imagine how crazy it is to, as a teenager, suddenly be internationally famous, not be living with your parents, and the only people who really understand exactly what you're going through are the people who are in the band with you. Of course they were best friends. And they were very physically affectionate, and they did make a lot of tongue-in-cheek jokes, I guess, for guys around their age.
I want to say thank you. We're having so much fun on stage at the moment, so thanks. Later.
But watching all those videos just made me kind of think that anyone who considers them unequivocal evidence that they were definitely in love just hasn't been around enough theater kids. But at first, to be honest, the idea that they might have a sort of special relationship was within the realm of possibility, especially since they're young and likely still figuring themselves out. If they had later come out, while I don't see any romantic chemistry there, I could totally recontextualize all this footage as a very sweet start to their love story. But then they got a little older and they started dating people. Harry is seen with Caroline Flack and Taylor Swift. Louis is in a multi-year relationship, and yet they still haven't come out. And here I think is where it takes a turn, just like the apes did, into more overly conspiratorial thinking, because why aren't they coming out? Sure, it could be because they never dated in the first place, but that's not possible because they are in love and always have been. And even though that is getting harder to see publicly, that doesn't mean that they don't still deeply care for each other. And since they haven't come out, it must be because Simon Cowell has a homophobic management company that isn't letting them. Louis' girlfriend, then, must be a hired actress who is either triplets or the daughter of an executive at their management company. Reality is starting to disprove the theory, but the theory doesn't budge. Reality does. And it's not like this comes out of complete thin air. Several of the guys have talked about how overworked they felt while they were in the band. Honestly, just judging by the amount of interviews I've seen, they must have been on an incredibly grueling publicity schedule. So yeah, Simon Cowell's management company might have been not great. And there have been famous people in the music industry who felt pressure not to come out. Homophobia does indeed exist. But at the end of the day, it's more likely that the girl who's seen hanging around Louis and holding hands with him and kissing him isn't a hired nepo baby actress woman, but instead is, his girlfriend. And then the real sucker punches start coming. People keep asking Harry and Louis about their relationship, but their responses get less playful and more tired. They're asked upfront about it several times and always deny that anything ever happened.
They're sure that that's about your relationship with Louis Tomlinson. Is it?
I mean, I think people are always going to speculate about what songs are about. And I don't think I'd ever want to tell someone that they're wrong for feeling how they feel about a song, even when they're not necessarily right. But I think if you really listen to the lyrics, I think you can work out whether it's about that or not, and I would lean towards no.
I feel like a true Larry, if you will, would watch that clip and say, well, he's clearly being coerced to say something that isn't true, that's why he's waffling. I, on the other hand, feel really uncomfortable watching this clip. It really seems to me that he's trying to, without pissing anyone off, say, no, that's actually not what the song is about. Louis especially starts to clap back at journalists and even at fans who constantly ask him about his relationship, saying that he's happy with his girlfriend. And all the speculation is really straining his relationship, not only with his girlfriend, but also with Harry. And he also always says in interviews, no, it's not true.
Can you tell me what your view is on these people who are obsessed by a Larry conspiracy?
I've never actually been asked about it directly. It's a funny thing. I mean, look, people can believe what they want to believe, but I just think it comes across sometimes a little bit disrespectful to the ones that I love, like Eleanor. Sometimes it comes across a bit disrespectful.
Fans see this as a laughably bad denial, but I read it as someone who's just honestly answering a question. In the master post I did see, I noticed there were a lot of gift sets with Louis and Harry, and the person writing it will be like, oh, well, Harry's body language here proves that he totally wanted Louis to kiss him. And like I said, I didn't read anything that way, but I need to also clarify that it doesn't matter how I read them. The only two people who know what happened are the two people in the gift. And once these theories really started to impact what was happening in their lives, Harry and Louis have not only denied that anything romantic has ever happened between them, but they've straight up come out and said that all this speculation has hurt them and their friendship. And because of that speculation, they're very conscious about the way they interact with each other in public. They start tweeting each other less. It reminded me of the apes driving Keith Gill, literally the founder of their movement, into complete internet obscurity because he knows that their speculation isn't something that he can control. So now, Larry fans have so much less to go on, but the theory still can't die. Harry and Louis are barely publicly acknowledging each other over the fact that they're kind of co-workers. So what happens? The way they communicate with each other and with their fans just has to get more obtuse. Theories crop up about their tattoos, which again, are not the same, but are thematically similar, like an anchor and a boat, and people think they might have gotten them at the same time. Fans are elated to discover that Louis and Harry both appear to have gotten flash tattoos from the same artist, and obviously this is a breakthrough because that proves that they got their tattoos together, which proves that they're immortalizing their love, and then the tattoo artist deletes the picture from his Instagram. And maybe it was because the fans were onto something. Or, maybe he was just tired of being harassed online. There are two bears that start appearing at One Direction concerts. And there are green and blue stickers on the bears' feet, which match the color-coded microphones that Louis and Harry use. Which is obviously Louis and Harry communicating to fans that while they are together, they can't publicly say so. Like the apes, Larrys are also very concerned with the amount of spaces used in a tweet. When Louis tweets something without a space between his word and his exclamation mark, it must be management using his account to dispel rumors. Because he doesn't type like that, except when he does. And then the real shit hits the fan. Because Louis breaks up with his girlfriend, has a fling with another girl, and she gets pregnant. Immediately, there are Larrys online who rush to post about how this is just a publicity stunt and it'll all be over in a few days. There's even a recent video taken at a One Direction concert where Louis grabs a baby doll that was thrown onto the stage and says those fateful words.
Put their baby on the stage, that's outrageous. It's not real. Oh no! It's a fake baby.
And fans wait with bated breath for anyone to say psych. But no one does. And although he's clearly never slept with a woman, and this baby mama is just a hired actress doing this all for clout, wouldn't you know it, Louis still has a child to this day. To me, the whole Babygate fiasco seems like a microcosm of the full Larry movement, and I'm not saying that there are still swaths of people out there who believe that Louis Tomlinson's human child isn't real or isn't his, but there was enough buzz about this to generate headlines back in the day. Louis is a very famous, recently single young guy. In the beginning, it was a little reasonable to assume that maybe a tabloid could have printed false information, or it was a stunt, trying to be sensational like tabloids often are. And then the mom started posting pictures of her baby bump, and then the kid was born and Louis posted pictures with him, and then the kid continued to grow up as kids do. But none of this could be true because obviously Louis and Harry are in love, have always been in love, so the baby must have been a doll and then a paid child actor instead of the simpler explanation, which is a baby. And just like the apes, if they were able to put their main thesis aside, that Louis and Harry were in love, everything else would start to make so much more sense. There don't have to be child actors and fake baby bumps and villainous management companies. There can just be a mother, a father, and a baby. That story is way less interesting, but much more believable. And looking into this, honestly, what stumped me is why this happened. We know why the apes can't let their theory go, because if they do, they've lost their entire life savings. But materially, there's always been so much less at stake for the Larrys. But I think it's fair to say that the same emotions are present in both communities. The drama, the intrigue, the fact that you know something that no one else does. And I can totally empathize with someone falling down a rabbit hole and being hyper fixated on something. When the whole baby conspiracy was going on, one user posted they were anxiously awaiting an update because some new revelation, whether it has to do with the baby or the stickers on the bear's feet or the tattoos, is always right around the corner, and it's impossible to rest when something huge is about to happen. Another user posted a long rant about censorship in the fandom and how they were afraid of being silenced, not unlike people being literally silenced by literal fascists. So, that's my theory at least, because this is a story. It has love, intrigue, sabotage, aliases. Because if you are the people who have rooted out the truth of the matter and can now, through your sleuthing and encouragement, help love win, you are a very important part of that story. You are a part of a movement. You are fighting homophobia in the face of evil management companies. In the drama of this forbidden love, you, the fans, are the supporting characters. Louis and Harry are trying to tell you something. And you, not those fake fans, are actually listening. You have been listening, and you have pieced together so much that Larry has to be real, because otherwise, Harry Styles and Louis Tomlinson are assholes for leading you on for so long. At least, that's the opinion of some commenters. I ran across another video that was submitted to the YouTube gods as more evidence that Louis Tomlinson is in love with Harry Styles, ending with a supportive message addressed right to Louis himself. And in terms of what is public, generally accepted knowledge, Louis Tomlinson has never seen any of those videos. He has never been in a relationship with Harry Styles. He had a long-term girlfriend, they broke up, then he had a short fling which resulted in the birth of his son. He and Harry have grown apart. But that story has none of the drama, none of the intrigue, and most importantly, it has nothing at all to do with the fans. While the One Direction guys are generally very respectful and thankful of their fans, both Louis and Harry, but especially Louis, have said that they have been really hurt by this Larry theory. So maybe the unacceptable thing isn't that Harry and Louis are assholes. Maybe what's really unacceptable is that this theory, which I'm sure fans created out of love, has actually done more harm than good. And that's just my guess, because just like I can't pretend to be the definitive answer on what happened between Harry and Louis, I can't hope to definitively say why this theory means so much to so many people. Watching all of this footage from One Direction in their early years, I think that if I would have listened to the band more, I would have at least flirted with the idea that they might be in love. But as a kid, I had a really holier-than-thou image of myself. Like I was too smart to be obsessed with boy bands or makeup, and I feel like I kind of missed out, honestly. Because, let's be real, no one was immune to the powers that these white boys' hairs seem to hold. And I think what I really ended up sinning with, at the end of watching that 2.5-hour-long video of concerts and interview footage, is that I really didn't want myself to feel the things that I certainly was feeling, and I wish that I had let myself be a little more obsessive. Because there is no joy like the joy felt by a 13-year-old at a boy band concert. Like, God, I wish that were me. So whether you're a preteen or a teenager, or you're just trying to celebrate or heal your inner child, it's always intoxicating to feel like you're watching a real love story with real adversaries. And when a real love story really matters to you, it's almost easier to believe in a fake baby than the fact that this love, which has been laid bare before you for 2.5 hours, is a lie. Clearly, I think that shipping real people is a huge gray area and can clearly go off the rails, but I'll just leave the thought here that I get that impulse. You want reality to be interesting. You want to live in a world where two cute boys fall in love against all odds. You have a theory that they might actually be in love. I mean, hello, they're always rustling each other's hair, but then reality starts to diverge from that theory. So you bend reality. And maybe it went a little off the rails, but man, just for a minute, wouldn't you like to believe that their reality is the truth? If only for 2.5 hours? Thank you for watching again. Thank you for watching again. Thank you so much for watching. There were some commenters that said some really nice things on my last video, and I just want to say I really appreciate that. It definitely gave me the energy to get this one out. I hope that it's enjoyable. If only while you're doing your laundry or you want someone to talk over. What is Parma ham? Does anyone know? There's the baby. Are they kissing? I don't think so. I think they were just drunk. Who is he? Well, that's Bigfoot. And that's the Loch Ness Monster. And these are their tattoos that when they met each other, they peed on each other. And they said hi and oops, so now they have those tattooed. I did this one because I spent too much time watching YouTube videos. And once I started watching that 2.5-hour video, it had to be for something. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you. Bye.